To configure Gmail and Google Diary, Google Calendar in Rentman, we go to Setup and User Preferences. We do it for each user configured in Rentman. Go to the Email tab and it says Email Interface. So we choose there Gmail and press Save. This other information, server port, username, password, not relevant for Gmail because the authorization process we're about to see takes care of all of that. So we've set it up. We go now to, for instance, a landlord. Now the process is the same whether you are explicitly sending an email from a screen such as this, or if you're emailing a report from the report preview, or a management statement from the management screen. The process is the same. So we click email and our email client comes up and it tells us we're configured for Gmail with the logo. So I'm going to send to this address and I'm going to put test 123 as my subject and blah 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 as my thing. So we click send. To configure Gmail and Google Calendar in Rentman, we go to Setup and User Preferences. We set this up for each user. Here under Email, we have an email interface. Lots to choose from. We're going to choose Gmail and press Save. We don't need any of this other information because the server, the username, password, because the authorization process we're about to go through will sort all that for us. So I can close that and go over here to the landlord screen. Now, whether you are explicitly calling an email, as I'm about to do here, or whether you're sending an email from the report preview screen or from a management statement from the management screen, the process is the same. Here we are in our email client, and I'm going to put test 1, 2, 3, 4, blah, 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 that thing. Now, we can see we've configured for Gmail because we've got the Gmail logo here on our button. Now when I press send, over here on the other monitor and in a browser, Google has prompted us. First of all, it wants to know the account we want to use. Here's my account under Gmail. This hopefully will disappear as soon as Google has verified the app for them, and you won't see that. But in the meanwhile, you just have to go to Google, and now it tells you you're allowing Rentman this access to your Google account. Now Rentman is asking you to read all your email messages. It's going to import them into the journal. It's going to send an email on your behalf, as we're doing now. Also for the calendar, we'll come to that in a moment, but we need pretty much all access to your calendar because we're going to be adding, deleting, updating, and downloading all of the events in your Google Calendar. So these are the three scopes that we're going to allow. Successful. We go back to Rentman. You can see it's gone. Now, I'm just going over here to the other screen and bring it back over here. So when I'm logged into Gmail, you can see I'm under in my sent folder, and you can see there's the one we just sent. Test 1, 2, 3, 4, blah blah blah, and there's a few I've done before. But that's the important thing. You see it's been sent. Over here, I'm just going over to my Outlook, and look there. Here it is in the nigelarman.co.uk folder. It's been sent. It's been received. So that's good. Now, I can close this screen down and I'm going to go back to here and receive. Now, we've got it set up. We're back on the user preferences, and again we're under email. This time we're looking at that receive tab, and it says there that how often do you want Rentman to go and retrieve emails from that account, and I've got it set up here to be 30 minutes. You can override that, as I'm about to here, with the sync now. Rentman will look for emails that have been sent to you, and it will try and match the sender's email address with landlords, tenants, guarantors, contractors that you've already entered email addresses for into Rentman. There's an option here to decide if you want to import where Rentman doesn't recognize the email address. I'm going to leave it unset for the moment. If you did set that, those emails would be down here under journals, emails with unknown sender. But I'm not going to do that for the moment and it's not the default, because Rentman assumes that you've got non-Rentman business happening in that email account, personal items for instance. So when I click sync now, you should see at the bottom Rentman is fetching emails. Now what you will have noticed is that we're not being prompted again for Google to allow Rentman in. That's because last time when we sent the email we got a token, and that token is good for, well, until it's revoked really, and Rentman saves it, and all subsequent attempts to use to send an email, to receive an email, or to synchronize with the calendar will use that token. It will expire one day and you'll have to put it back in again. That can be under your control from within your Google account management. Now, if I go back to my landlord, and here's a landlord whose email address is this. Now we can see when we look in the journal that we've got lots of emails that have been sent and received. There's the one that just went from this address, and there's others. Now, when Rentman pulls these emails into the journal, it will save the mail headers as well. You may, that's a kind of a legal thing. The time may come in a couple of years where you need to know when an email was sent, when an email was received. So although it's not easy to read, it may be useful one day. If there were information in the body of the email, it would be up here before those asterisks, and we just see the headers below. So here's stuff that I've just received, downloaded from into this account. Now let's go and have that's email. That's why Rentman wants to read your emails, and it also wants to send on your behalf. Now we'll look at the diary. Now in the Rentman diary, we can create ourselves an appointment. We choose an applicant and a property, for instance, and we're going to save it. It was telling me it's a bank holiday, but never mind. There we have our appointment. Now, as we set up earlier, in the preferences, let me go back. We're downloading emails every 30 minutes. Over here under diary and under Google, we've got a separate control, but it's also set to synchronize the diary every 30 minutes. And what Rentman will do is it launches another of those background processes that will upload all the appointments you've entered into Rentman, and will download any changes you've made from Google or any new appointments that you've entered in Google. Now we do have to choose here the calendar that we want to use on that account, and there it is. Now again, you notice that token has been remembered and we weren't prompted again for authorization. It's remembered it. A couple of things also on this screen worth looking at. Weeks in the future. Unless I'm very careful, when I download from Google Calendar, Google will give me or give Rentman bank holidays and the like for years into the future, which can be very slow. Even ignoring them can be very slow. So we limit it here so that Rentman can say, just give me the appointments for the last few days for about 2 weeks into the future. You can change that if you want to bring down further than that, but just be aware it does slow things down immensely. There's a little tip over delete from Rentman if you delete the appointment from Google Diary. It does what it says it will do. Just beware if you're sharing one Google Calendar with multiple Rentman users. Things can get a little dicey as to whether you really want it deleted from your Rentman folder just because somebody else deleted it from theirs. Every 30 minutes it will launch a separate process to go and do this, but I can override that here by saying sync now. And when I do that, again we see that prompt, and again we don't get a prompt for authorization because it's remembered the token. Now I'm just looking at over here on my other monitor in the browser. Here's my diary for today and you'll see that's the appointment we just made. Rentman's added some extra information in there that might be useful while you're out and about. If you're synchronizing with Google Calendar, presumably it's because you want to see the appointment on your phone or iPad or wherever, and you're not using Rentman Online, which would already have all this information there. But the appointment gets this information, the applicant's details, the property details, and any landlord information that was there. Now, any changes you make here will be re-imported back into Rentman. Let's edit. Let's change the time. We'll change the time to be 11:30. We'll click save. So it's moved. When we synchronize, it'll come back into Rentman as that. One thing worth mentioning at this point is if you enter a diary event directly into Rentman, 3 till 4, save, there we go, test. Rentman will pull it back into the Rentman diary, but of course it'll be an orphan because it won't it won't know the applicant, the property, the landlord to which it applies. So good practice is to always enter things into Rentman and let it upload rather than into Google and have them download. But if we now go back to our there's our diary, and we go back to the user detail. Rather than wait 30 minutes, I'm going to do another synchronization. And off it goes. Now I'm going to wait a little bit. But you'll see there that the time has now moved to 11:30. We haven't downloaded the other one yet, but hopefully that'll be there in a moment. There it is. There's our test appointment. As I said, it's an orphan. There are no applicants, properties, landlords connected to it. So always enter these things first into Rentman and let it manage them. That's all we need to show. All right, thank you. Bye.